Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to the Sandlot, the best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got hosed on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlot, former pro player and Major League Scout, Ted Howard.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter, New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome to The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network and sponsored by Terramar Collective, Econo Air, South Bay Credit Union, Max Graphics LA, and Grit Sports Collective. The Sandlot returned for its 12th season and second on our new home, the Fox Sports Radio 610 AM and 1067 FM. Also streamed live on 610foxsports.com. We look forward to bringing you the childhood Sandlot stories from the biggest names in baseball, including players, coaches, scouts, front office personnel, and even media as they reflect on their road to the big leagues. Last week's show was our 300th production in our 12-year history. And on last year's landmark 300 show, we had Padres great, one of the greatest of all time, a kid that grew up in Bellflower, California. We had a Hall of Famer. His 601 saves is second all-time in Major League Baseball history behind only Mariano Rivera. We had his brother Glenn and his son Wyatt in the past, and we had National Baseball Hall of Fame member Trevor Hoffman. We also had a former professional player and Major League Scout for 44 years. He was on my very first show. He was on around the 220th, and he was gracious enough to come back for show number 300. We had Cincinnati Reds scout Jeff Schugel. We also had a former Major League player, now Rockies color guy, Ryan Spilborghs, to talk about who's hot and who's not in MLB. This week on The Sandlot, we have a former Major League player and scout, Randy Johnson, plus former Major League All-Star, a 10-year Major League veteran, John Jaha. We're with former Major League player and scout, Randy Johnson. Randy, thanks so much for being a guest on The Sandlot.
Great to be here, Ted.
Let's start all the way back to your Sandlot days, because guys that get to the big leagues developed a passion for the game at a really young age. So I want to know, in your neighborhood in Escondido, what was the Sandlot like? Was there a bunch of kids that gathered at a certain time every morning at an open field or a modified field where you had to modify the rules to play the game and you had to get creative and you had to break up fights?
Well, I grew up in a family of baseball players. I had two older brothers that played baseball. I had friends in the neighborhood that played. Started at a young age, like at 6 years old, and my dad used to work with us constantly. Pepper catching us as pitchers. He was my coach from basically till my professional days. Little League wise, we'd go down to the fields in the summer and play with a group of guys, ride our bikes about 3 miles, and there'd be 7, 8 guys of us. We'd play over the line constantly. Playing a game either on the field or in somebody's backyard, making up games, wiffle ball, ping pong ball, rag ball, anything we could do to simulate a type of a baseball game or a major league game. And those were the days. I mean, my gosh, I look back and think how fun and how easy we had it and how great of a life it was, and a great time to grow up. Every sport, we'd be out doing something all summer long, and pretty much most of the year we'd be doing something till 9 o'clock at night until we had to come back inside.
That's a beautiful thing about Southern California. I did that in the summertime in Central Illinois, but man, when it came wintertime, I had to shut it down, and we were doing other stuff inside. We did play basketball and hockey and football and all these other things, and I know you did too. What's cool about Southern Cal, you could go out and play baseball any time of the year, and if you're really a diehard, that meant you could do it in the winter when I was in my basement wishing I could do something other than bounce a ball off a wall.
Well, I didn't know any different. I mean, my family moved from Youngstown, Ohio to Escondido when I was still in my mother's stomach, and thank goodness they did, or she did. They moved. I didn't know that there was snow and wind and winters were cold. we were outside year round, and yeah, we could have played baseball year round, but we always pretty much went with the sport that was being played at the time. So basketball, football, never played soccer, but we make games up. And again, luckily for me, we were able to do that pretty much year round, and it's huge. My first time of seeing the different weather was my first year pro ball, going to Wausau, Wisconsin, and seeing what kind of thunderstorms they had there. I'd never heard anything like that in my life. I mean, I was thinking that bombs were going off, and never really felt or experienced that thunder and lightning that they have back in the Midwest and even the East.
One of the things we did when I was a kid, we played in my backyard. We hit a hard ball, but we were all dead pull right-handed hitters, so we had to bat left-handed because we kind of hit the ball up the middle left-handed. So we ran the bases and we batted left-handed. We hit a hard ball in my backyard, but we were playing at a time when the Cubs had all-day games, so the 110 leadoff man followed by the start of the game every day. So we'd have the radio going while we were playing. So we'd have pauses, and it gave me the chance to understand how a game was delivered by the broadcasters, and it gave me the feeling that maybe one day I might do something like that, just because I love Jack Brickhouse and Lou Boudreau and how they described the game to me. And I grew up in a place where it was Cubs and Cardinals, and we got in brawls over Cubs and Cardinals. And these Sandlot days were fun, but they were tough. Like daily had a fight, and we'd get resolved and kiss and make up and keep going. But people were serious about the competition.
I can't say we had the same situations here. I mean, we didn't really have a local team. The Padres weren't around then. I was a Giants fan just because my dad liked Willie Mays. I listened to games occasionally, but baseball wasn't my whole life back then because I played all the other sports as well. But yeah, we really never got into those shouting matches or fights like you talk about because we were, I don't know, maybe Southern California laid back a little bit more.
Because you had the surf down the road. You could always just go get in the surf, and that's always soothing. And if you grow up in the Midwest and you've never experienced it, you don't understand that there's a way to let off that steam.
We were pretty much at the beach every day during the summer, so that was our relief, and our trips to the beach with my mom and my sister driving was hard to forget. I mean, friends, I was never really a surfer, but we'd body surf and ride the rafts and get too much sun, which I'm paying for now, but it's hard to believe how many good things there were in my area of growing up, just 20 miles from the beach and 30 miles from San Diego. So I was very lucky.
Blessed to grow up in that part of the country. And I look back now and wish as a child that I would have had that exposure, not just to the year-round great weather, but to the surf, because to me, it's really cleansing the soul to be out there in that water. And if you surf regularly, you're pretty fit. Well, I'm trying to stay fit. I get in the water as often as I can. And you had access to that at a young age. So I'm very envious of that.
It was special. I mean, we'd go out in the morning and stay out there for 3-4 hours, just treading water, trying to catch waves. I tried to surf. I had troubles getting out past the waves, and I said, heck with this. It's a little easier to body surf. But I have a lot of friends that surfed, and they enjoyed it and kind of wished I'd have stuck with it. But, yeah, like you said, the water is very relaxing and soothing. And, I miss that part of being a kid and being able to do that. It was some of the better days of my life.
Willie McCovey, Willie Mays, those are guys that were on the Giants back in the day that are in the Hall of Fame that were unbelievable players. Did you ever get a chance to actually see them as a kid? Did you go to games, or was it only on the radio from time to time? And did you try to emulate some of those guys when you were hitting and making plays in the field?
Well, I actually believe I got to see Willie Mays. I don't think I met him when I was younger. My dad took me to Palm Springs when the Angels were training there, and I remember either being in the bullpen area, and my dad has a picture of him standing next to the fence. I don't believe it was with me, but I do have a good story of when I went to spring training with the Giants in '86. I got a picture taken with both Willies in the clubhouse. And Willie Mays, I ran into at an old timers game, and he was kind enough to sign it for me. And then took about another 25 years to get Willie McCovey to sign it. So it's up in my office here. It's the pride and joy of my collection, and just people are amazed when I show them that picture that I was lucky enough to be able to meet those guys and get them both to sign the picture. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
In high school, you were a really good baseball player and a really good football player. So you go to Palomar, which is another cool thing, man. I would love to go to JUCO out here, and being that close to the beach and being in that kind of a program, again, envy. And you had the opportunity to play 2 sports at JUCO, but then also did that at San Jose State. Let's talk about being a 2-sport athlete in college.
Well, my sophomore year of high school, my dad said you can't play football because you're too small. He wanted me to concentrate on baseball. So I went out to the practice fields pretty much every day because I had a lot of friends out there. And one of the guys was kicking one day, and I tried kicking straight on. I couldn't do that. So I tried sideways. I didn't even know what I didn't play soccer, so I didn't know what soccer style was, but I tried kicking sideways. I kind of got the hang of it. And I don't know, a month or so later, the coach asked me if I wanted to come out and kick for the team. So I asked my dad if that was all right, and he said, fine, as long as you're just kicking. So I played the last 3 games of my sophomore year, and then played my junior and senior year, and didn't get a lot of chances to kick. But going to Palomar and playing both sports, I got a chance to show what I could do. And I had 2 really good years at San Jose State in football as a kicker. Made All-State my second year. I actually beat out Frank Corral, who was an NFL punter kicker for quite a few years. But anyway, then it's actually how I got to college, because nobody recruited me as a baseball player out of Palomar. So football was my full ride, but I was adamant that I played both sports at wherever I went. So San Jose was the one that worked out for me well. Didn't do that well in football, but ended up coming on strong my senior year of baseball. So that's my story there. And I also got to play A-ball with another good punter named Jeff Gossett, who was probably had the best arm I've ever seen in my life. And after struggling to hit a breaking ball, he was asked to go on the mound. He said, no, I'm going to go play in the NFL, which he did for, I think, 15 years. But we used to kick the balls back and forth to each other. I'd kick it off the ground, and he'd punt it back to me during spring training. And it's a memory I'll never forget, was standing out in front of the hotel, kicking the balls back and forth. And he ended up being a real nice NFL punter.
Senior year, you're an academic All-American, and you get taken in the 11th round by the Mets. And now we're in the minor league grind. And back then, trades happen. You end up in the Atlanta organization, get to the big leagues with Atlanta. And that's back in the day. That's Fulton County Stadium.
Yeah, I got traded over in Double-A, and actually Hank Aaron was the guy that made the trade. It was just a Double-A need for both organizations. And worked out well for me. The next year, I was basically a utility guy in AAA, and our third baseman hurt himself, so I got thrust into action and actually had my best year ever in 1981. So the next year I ended up making the big club, and it's quite a thrill. I mean, to play 3 years and be around guys like Dale Murphy and Bob Horner and Claudio Washington and Chris Chambliss, just to make it was a thrill. But to be able to play with those guys for 3 years was unbelievable. I never thought I'd have that kind of opportunity, and I cherish it to no end.
Thanks to our special guest, former major leaguer and scout Randy Johnson. And we'll have more from Randy when we return. We're on KAVL, Fox Sports Radio, 610 AM and 106.7 FM. We are Fox Sports. We're also streamed live on 610foxsports.com. The Sandlot is where everybody plays. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network.
And that's a fair ball up into the right field corner. It's going to get the National Leaguers on the board first as Ohtani scores. Here comes Acuna being waved around. No play at the plate, and we have an early contender for All-Star MVP. His name is Ketel Marte. And Tatis is running with a huge lead. Kurt's throw not even close. An All-Star stolen base for Fernando Tatis Jr. This is likely Alonso's last at-bat. And he's going to make the most of it with a high drive to right that's going to go! 5-0 National League. And it's the only time Pete Alonso will be cheered in Atlanta.
Hey there, this is Josh Holliday, head baseball coach at Oklahoma State. I'm the proud big brother of Matt Holliday, former major leaguer, and the proud uncle of current minor leaguer Jackson Holliday. And I'm listening to The Sandlot.
She's a hot little number in her pickup truck. Daddy sweet money done jacked it up. She's a party all-nighter from South Carolina. A bad mama jammer from
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective. With so many banking options out there, why choose South Bay Credit Union? As a nonprofit credit union, they're here to serve you, not shareholders. That means they're able to provide better rates, fewer fees, and more valuable benefits to empower their members to live better and do better. You want to master your money? South Bay Credit Union puts you in control of your money with everyday banking solutions. From checking accounts to home mortgages, credit cards to auto loans, their members have access to the tools they need to achieve their financial goals now and in the future. Step up to the plate with EconoAir's solar services. Their solar solutions deliver unbeatable energy savings, keeping your power bills low all season long. Be a game changer. Switch to clean energy today. Sandlot listeners mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair. Call EconoAir at 714-333-0130 and hit your energy savings out of the park. Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today.
Looking for printed apparel for your school, business, sports team, or company event? Max Graphics LA is your solution. Go to maxgraphicsla.com today and check out our options. We offer screen printing, embroidery, and more on clothes from major suppliers. Our graphic designers can help you with your logo or design. We also offer custom online retail shops where we take care of all orders and fulfillment. Visit our website at maxgraphicsla.com or call 310-595-1195 today to get started.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball, the man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque. Especially
Shohei, Mookie, and the Judge. Welcome back to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're on Fox Sports 610 AM and 1067 FM. Also streamed live on 610foxsports.com. Right now, we have more from a two-sport athlete at Palomar and San Jose State, a former major leaguer, Randy Johnson. Randy, thanks so much for sticking around. Let's talk about the minor league days, getting to the big leagues. You just mentioned some of the guys you got to play with, and then you have an opportunity after you played to stay in the game. And that's how I met you. You end up playing in the Australian Baseball League. You played in Japan, and then you end up getting a scouting job, and you've been in numerous organizations. Let's talk about how all that evolved, because if we're going to stay in the game, there's a few options, and one of them is scouting.
After my playing career was kind of over in 1987, I got back from Japan and was going to the winter meetings to try to hook up with the team. And I met Randy Smith on an airplane. And at that time, I believe he was the scouting director for the Padres. Nothing came of that winter meeting deal. So I ran into him the next year going to meet Mark Grant at a restaurant and he asked me if I was interested in scouting. I said, well, I'd rather go into player development. He kind of talked me out of that and said, we got an opening in Georgia and the Carolinas if you're interested. And at the time, my wife was from Atlanta, so I accepted the job. Did the area in those three states for a year. Following year, he brought me back to San Diego to do the area in Southern California and the Four Corners. And then from then on, he left, went to the Rockies. I followed him, was there for the first 2 years of the Rockies' existence. He came back to the Padres as a general manager. I followed him back to San Diego. 2 years after that, he wasn't getting along with Larry Lucchino, so he had the opportunity to go to the Tigers. I followed him there. 7 years there. We both got let go. And finally, he ended up with the Padres, and I ended up with the Oakland A's. So that's when we first split up. And then, lo and behold, 7 years later, he becomes a farm director in San Diego and brings me over as a roving infield. What was I? A minor league field coordinator. So we were reunited, and I owe pretty much everything that happened to me after my playing days to Randy Smith. Was very, very blessed to spend 32 years, I believe, in scouting and player development, and another 10, 11 in actually playing the game. So very, very blessed, and I owe a lot of it to Randy Smith.
Randy Smith and Kevin Towers both were two of the best people I've ever met in the game. And I just had Trevor Hoffman on. We talked a lot about Kevin because same thing, like opportunities are given by these guys. And Randy Smith was your sponsor. And for Trevor, it was Kevin Towers.
Well, funny story is Kevin Towers' sponsor was Randy Smith. Randy Smith hired him to scout, I think a year before I was brought aboard, and Randy and Kevin were very tight. We were actually the people that brought Trevor over from Miami in one of the trades that we were lambasted for. I believe it was the McGriff trade. But Kevin was a great man, a good friend. Started about the same time. We parted ways a little bit when he went to Pittsburgh, and then he came back to the Padres. We were together, I believe, right before we left for Detroit, and Kevin became the GM there. But yeah, he did an incredible job wherever he was. Missed the guy dearly.
We faced each other in the Australian Baseball League 90-91 season. You end up there because they needed a manager. You end up being a player manager. I happened to be a player manager in the league that same year. And we had a pretty good rivalry with the Bandits. And we just talked about the showground and how cool of a venue that was to be right in the middle of Brisbane. And then I know you did a lot of work to turn it into a baseball field because it wasn't when you arrived.
No, it was they called it a showgrounds. It was basically just a big field, flat dirt track around it. And I was able to go in had to go in and made it look like kind of an AstroTurf field where I just cut out around where the bases were and made the mound and home plate. And then we put up a temporary fence. So it really was not a extremely great baseball venue, but we made the best of it. And I mean, I had a blast. I was able to manage, play. I think I ended up firing myself 3/4 of the way through the year as a manager because we weren't doing very well, and I found it hard to be friends with the players and also try to be a disciplinarian, which our team was pretty wild, if you can imagine it. As you would very well know, the Australian kids like to have fun.
Yeah, they do. You know, on the field, they're serious, and off the field, they're serious about other things. So we got this situation with Major League Baseball. You were a scout for a really long time. How many years?
32 years. Well, 28 years scouting, or 28 scouting, 4 years player development. I believe that's it.
That's a long time. And there's a group of you that are in a situation with MLB, just like the minor league players did. They gathered together in a class action lawsuit against MLB for underpaying. And there's a group of scouts, and I know a lot of them because I grew up in the era where guys like you trained me. And this was some old school way of scouting where intangibles and what in your head and heart and between your legs was the most important things. This 100-mile-an-hour wasn't as important. So scouting has changed, but they kind of left the old school people behind.
Well, it seems like about 7-8 years ago, teams were starting to rely more on analytics and less on scouting, and they were starting to pair especially their professional scouts, trying to save money there. And it seemed like most of the guys that were being let go were older and more experienced, who would have been the higher paid guys. So it was kind of obvious to those of us that got let go what was going on. And this class action lawsuit came about, and I said, well, pretty good chance I was let go because of age, when 5 of the 7 scouts let go by the Tigers were 63 and above. So they claim it had nothing to do with it, but I beg to differ. And lo and behold, we're trying to get some kind of compensation. I don't know if anything's ever going to come of it, but I don't like what they did to a whole lot of us. And let's sit back and see what happens.
There's certain things you learn in the game that you don't want to learn. And I did that as a scout. Spring training was the thing for me. Being in the meetings in the morning when they're going through the day before's games and they're talking about players, and they start with who's hurt and who's been in the training room, and they don't like guys in the training room. You learn that and you realize, I'm glad I didn't spend any time in there when I was playing. But they don't like that. And then I learned that out of 180 guys in spring training, the guys in the room like 5 of them. And the rest of them are really just a number that are filling a roster, and they don't have any plans for them other than you're helping us fill roster spots. And that made me feel uneasy. And that's when I decided to take another direction with the game, because I just didn't like that.
Sad part of it is it's always been that way. I mean, you have your 3 or 4 prospects on at every level, and you got to have a team for those guys to play and develop. But, it turns out a lot of those guys, I was one of those guys that was pretty much a filler my whole year and my whole career in the minor leagues, and got an opportunity and went with it. But, it's a sad reality of basically any sport that has minor leagues to it. You got to field the team, and you got to let the guys that you paid money to hopefully develop and play. And it just is what it is. There's really no other way around it unless you had them all just working out, and then when a big league team needed a player, you call them up. So it's a sad reality of the game. But again, a lot of guys that are supposed to be studs that are high-paid prospects or high-paid draft picks don't make it. And then on the other hand, you have guys that got nothing that were filling rosters that end up becoming good major league players and sometimes even great major league players. But that's the sadness, and that's just the reality of professional baseball.
And that's where scouting comes in. That's that intangible. Who's doing the work when nobody's watching? Who's putting in the time, the extra efforts to become great? And we don't always know that by just looking.
Yeah, there's no way to tell what's inside somebody's chest and like you said, between their legs. So, the grinders, I was a grinder. I mean, that's why I think I was pretty well set to be a talent evaluator, because I didn't have a ton of talent, but I made the most of it and watched the other guys that were better than me and playing ahead of me and on other teams. It kind of grew me to become a scout, I think. And there's a lot of different things to do in the game, and I was lucky enough to be able to do it my whole life and my whole career. So it worked out well for me.
He's Randy Johnson, former major league player and scout. I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
I appreciate it, Ted. Keep up the good work, brother.
Don't go away. When we return, we have a former Major League All-Star. He grew up watching the Portland Mavericks, a team we featured on the show in the past, run by Bing Russell, the father of Kurt Russell. We have John Jaha. You're listening to The Sandlot right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Also streamed live on 610foxsports.com. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
He's had really good changes in today's day and age. A four-seamer at the top with a good head changeup.
Uh-oh. Corbin Carroll swings and sends the ball out to deep right, and that one is really out of here. Wow. Second National League homer of the inning. 6-0 for the senior circuit.
It's a little hanging slider. Corbin Carroll just doesn't miss it. Made adjustments earlier this year with his hands, lowering his hands a little bit, getting more connected, staying through that baseball. My goodness, that ball left the yard in a hurry.
He's on the roster. This guy's the closer of the future.
Absolutely.
Oh, Brent Rooker just absolutely torched him. Santa Maria! The American League is on the scoreboard, and they've cut the deficit in half.
This is Clint Barmas, and I'm still listening to The Sandlot.
This is former Major League pitcher Dave Dravecki, and you are listening to The Sandlot.
This is Doug Brokel of the Houston Astros, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Dusty Baker, manager of the Cincinnati Reds, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
This is Joe Mauer of the Minnesota Twins, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Hey, it's former Major League Baseball player Matt Holliday, and I'm actually known as Jackson Holliday's dad these days. My son was the #1 overall pick, and I got another one on the way. And we still listen to Sandlot Radio. Proud to be part of the Sandlot Radio family.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
The heat was unbearable. My AC was striking out and my house felt like a summer game with no shade. Then I called EconoAir. What a game changer. They knocked the heat out of the park and now I'm comfortable year-round. Give EconoAir a call today at 714-333-0130. That's 714-333-0130. Sandlot listeners mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair with EconoAir.
South Bay Credit Union features 3 centrally located branches in the South Bay, 24/7 time-saving digital banking tools, over 30,000 free ATMs nationwide, and a 100% commitment to the South Bay. South Bay Credit Union cares about their community. They've contributed over 3,600 employee volunteer hours. Over 20 local organizations have received donations or sponsorships, and they have raised over $150,000 for the Children's Miracle Network. South Bay Credit Union. Live better, do better, bank better.
Looking for printed apparel for your school, business, sports team, or company event? Max Graphics LA is your solution. Go to maxgraphicsla.com today and check out our options. We offer screen printing, embroidery, and more on clothes from major suppliers. Our graphic designers can help you with your logo or design. We also offer custom online retail shops where we take care of all orders and fulfillment. Visit our website at maxgraphicsla.com or call 310-595-1195 today to get started.
It was pretty much decided for me to play baseball when I was born.
The Sandlot's where it all starts, doesn't it?
I wasn't bigger than everybody. I just threw harder.
It doesn't take any talent to hustle.
If you don't pull for the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven.
Something happening here. What it is.
Welcome back to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays, right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Right now, we have a former major leaguer, an all-star, and a one-time comeback player of the year in the major leagues, John Jaha. Thanks for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is really cool.
Let's turn your clock back to the childhood days of John Jaha in Portland, Oregon, because you're at the age where when we were kids, we got our 20 games a year, but we did a lot of stuff on our own to develop skills and passion for the game. Was that the case in Portland for you and your buddies in the neighborhood?
Oh, yeah. We had so many different games we played. I had one game in my backyard. We had a little concrete deck back there, and the house was a single, double, triple where you hit this little Nerf ball with a wiffle ball bat. So just one-on-one, you're a pitcher. I was always the Dodgers. That was my favorite team then. So I'm Fernando or whoever on the mound. And a friend of mine was always the Phillies, so he's Pete Rose and all those guys. So that's one thing we played almost every single day. And it's a little Nerf ball, so you had a big old curve ball going, and you're throwing left-handed or right-handed, and it was just so much fun. And then we also had, when we had more kids together, we'd go out in the cul-de-sac, and we'd play wiffle ball there. And we'd probably have like 5-on-5, and we just would play all day long, drive the neighbors crazy, all mad, trying to drive through there. And we got a full game going on. And this must have happened pretty much every day and most of the day. And of course, in those days, we didn't have cell phones and all the cable channels or anything. So there was nothing else to do but do that. And just great memories, great memories.
Some of those guys that were characters in the Sandlot, we all know the Sandlot movie, and there was some definite characters in that. Did you have a couple guys that just had that something about them, and you knew they were never going to go on and play baseball, but they loved playing in the Sandlot?
Oh man, all of them. We had so much fun. But yeah, some great characters. I can't think of any one story, but just really baseball sports kids in our neighborhood. It was just really a really fun neighborhood, kind of young families, and every guy had their own favorite team, and they'd act like those players, and it's just hilarious to look back and think they hit like Pete Rose or Mike Smith or whoever. They would hit like those guys. And yeah, at the time I'm thinking, well, I was in that group thinking, well, none of us are going to make it one day, but we're still having fun doing this, and just some hilarious times back then. And one of us actually made it, which was really cool. So I'm still friends with all those guys today, and we talk about those times with our kids, and just great times.
So right out of high school, the Brewers take you in the draft. What was that like on draft day at Jaha household to get that phone call and know that, man, I'm going to get a chance to go play professional baseball?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. At the time, I was talking to the Dodgers, and that was my favorite team. So the scout for the Dodgers was working me out all the time and talking to me, and he said he had me projecting the top 5 rounds, and I'm just thinking I'm going to the Dodgers, and I'm so excited. And that call never came, so I got a little disappointed. And when it got to, I think, the past the 10th round, I kind of just thought about college. I was verbally committed to Oklahoma State, so I kind of just set my sights on that. I kind of forgot about the draft, and all of a sudden I got a call from the Brewers. I think it was the 13th or 14th round. I can't even think now. And the Brewers never talked to me before the draft or anything. I didn't know they were at the games, my high school games. So I had no idea they were going to draft me, and so it was a big shocker at that time. And so I kind of set my sights on college, and then all of a sudden they call, and so it got all exciting again. And I was definitely a baseball fan at the time, and like I said, the Dodgers, and I was a baseball junkie, so it was pretty cool.
And the family must have just been over the moon. And I'm sure some of those Sandlot kids were gathered around waiting to know if you were going to go and what team.
Yeah, they're around. I mean, it wasn't quite like it is these days where the big TV and the families all together. In those days, it was kind of just, you just hang out, and we were probably playing wiffle ball in the backyard or Nerf ball or whatever, and not even thinking much about it. And the call came in, but it wasn't a big production like today. But it was still pretty amazing and something I'll never forget. Just a great time.
Minor league baseball, it's not like what you think. When you get there, it's a little less glamorous than you think. And myself, I had never been to a spring training game. I had never seen a minor league game. So when I was at spring training, that was my first experience, and I was pretty green. And then first minor league game I ever played in was the first one I've ever seen. So I was really green around the gills, and we don't know what we're getting into when we get into that minor league clubhouse.
Oh man, it was you're exactly right. I had a minor league team in Portland, and I was old Portland Mavericks. I don't know if you remember that team. Independent minor league team. Oh man, such great times then. I went to all their camps when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. So I was kind of around the minor league game, and I knew a little bit about baseball, but nothing compared to when I actually went to instructional league. I didn't play that season. I signed late. I was thinking about college, and I signed late in September. So I went straight to instructional league with the Brewers, and I got there, and I had a old glove, no bats, maybe a pair of old cleats that matched nothing of the Brewers. And I basically didn't even know how to put on a uniform. It was like a whole new adventure. And as you know, in instructional league, there's a lot of prospects there. So I'm playing with all these major league prospects, and I just have no clue. I was a fish out of water for sure. And it took me that full month and a half to kind of figure out what the minor league game is about. And then of course I went to the minor leagues the next year and really got to learn it. But it took a lot of time. It took me probably good 3 or 4 years to really figure out the game, the pro game. It was just a major adjustment for me coming from where I did and never touching a wood bat or never knowing the game like that. And my swing was kind of more of a high school swing, kind of a hitch in it and all kinds of stuff going on. And I had to learn all that stuff and learn how to play third base and eventually move over to first base and learn that. And so it was a 4-year process that luckily I was able to hold on for that period of time, because I think a few times they were thinking about releasing me or something, but I kind of just held on and finally made it.
And that's a big part of it, is if you can handle the grind, if you can show that you can handle the adversity that comes along with a 142-game season, a month in spring training without getting paid and very low wages. It's really a hard thing for most people mentally to get through, and that's part of the test with the Major League Club is who's up for it, right?
Absolutely, and especially in our day. I mean, I think my monthly salary was $650 a month for the 6-month season or whatever it was. And then you come home and you work a job for 6 months. I mean, you had no other options. And, bus rides of up to 12 hours in the Pioneer League and on. The lifestyle was tough. And if you couldn't handle that grind, you were phased out of baseball pretty quickly. And they kind of knew that. And like I said, in our day, if you couldn't get through that, you weren't going to make it to the big leagues. And those guys would just work their way out of the game. And I somehow kept going. I mean, I kind of had that no give up attitude from my mom and dad. And I'd call them every once in a while and say, I don't know if this is for me. And they just say, just keep going. Don't have no regrets. And until they take the jersey off your back, just keep playing. So I kind of had that attitude and stuck with it through some major injuries too. And so it's quite a story. I mean, I tell my kids what I went through it kind of inspires them when both my sons played baseball. And I think it inspires them, and they got that same attitude of not giving up, and you just keep grinding until someone tells you, we got no uniform for you. You just keep playing.
1990 in the Cal League, you're recovering from a knee injury, and I faced you in the Cal League that summer. And I think you might even been hitting with a knee brace. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. I came back way too early from a major tear in two ligaments, my ACL and the outside ligament. I tore both those pretty bad in January of 1990. And in those days, there wasn't the doctors and the rehab and this and that. I just went to a PT and I worked my butt off, put a big old brace on, and I started playing City League baseball in Portland in 6 months, which is absolutely crazy. And the Brewers found out, and they were mad, of course. And they said, well, get your butt to the Cal League in Stockton. If you can play, go there and play. So I went there for the last month and a half of the season. And yeah, I had a big old brace on. And I did mainly just DH'd. And we won the championship that year, which was really cool in the Cal League. And that's how I ended up in Australia, because I wanted to keep playing, and the season was over. And my buddy on the team was David Nilsson from Australia, and he said, let's just come there and play. And that's where I ended up our winter in 1990 in Australia.
That's where I saw you again and faced you again. And that team that you were on, the Daikyo Dolphins, which was on the Gold Coast of Queensland, surfer's paradise. They call it that for a reason. And beautiful weather, beautiful coastline, unbelievable surf. And you're playing baseball for the winter. You got sent there by the Brewers. Well, in 1989-90 season, I got sent there for the first time, and I just couldn't stop going back. And that Sydney Wave team that I'm player manager and part owner of, I had a lot of obligations with that team. It wasn't about just getting guys out. So when I did face Daikyo, and you guys were loaded with big leaguers, you, Troy O'Leary, and Nielsen, all who had great major league careers, are stacked in that lineup. And then you got a bunch of Aussies sitting with Eastons with titanium alloy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had a serious lineup. Yeah, the Aussies there were good players too. I mean, a couple of them I think came over and played some minor league baseball. Paul Gorman and a few others. And we had big Ron Johnson, who was our first base DH, who was American but became an Australian citizen over there, so he was considered Australian. And he's hitting fourth for us, and he's a 6'3", 240, and hits just bombs with metal bats. So we had quite the team. Our first year we lost to Perth in the championship, and then I came back the next year and we beat Perth in the championship, and they were pretty loaded too. So what an experience. So I had the time of my life.
And you think about that fact that you played winter ball for a couple years, that's pivotal, and it's a turning point. And you start figuring stuff out. And then that next year in AA in El Paso, you went off. It was time. It was time for John to go to the big leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. That time in Australia, that winter ball seasons, I consider that definitely the turning point for me. I was just fluttering a little bit in the minor leagues and not quite getting it figured out, and just getting over there and playing more games and in a different atmosphere. And then kind of playing year round for 2 years, it really broke me loose as a hitter. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot over there. We had a South Korean hitting coach who was amazing. Some of the Japanese teams were over there. I was watching them a lot. I learned a lot over there. And the level of baseball is pretty good, but it's not, it's not to the major league level over here, but it's, it's like single A. In those days, I think it was probably more like single A baseball, but it was pretty good baseball. So I learned a lot. And then, when I got over here at El Paso, in that AA season, I kind of came in with a new confidence, and I was just a different player from that point on.
And power. You had some power, buddy. Don't go away. When we return, we have more from JJ himself right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Also streamed live on 610foxsports.com. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network.
Jazz with the ball. Oh! Down by Olsen. What a play! Two. Juan puts it in play. That's going to be a tough chance for Suarez. Barehand throw, not in time, and this game is tied. Holes through you. Schwarber in the air to center field, headed towards the wall, and dead center. That's huge for the National League. And he did. Oh, Schwarber's in the All-Star game. Oh, tied at 3. Game, NL has rallied in the swing. With the hat trick. Look out, Chop House. National League takes the lead 4-5.
Unbelievable.
My name is Ethan Holiday. Play shortstop for the Stillwater High School baseball team. I am a couple months away from being hopefully selected in the Major League Baseball draft. I am now part of the Sandlot.
Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today. Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
The heat was unbearable. My AC was striking out and my house felt like a summer game with no shade. Then I called EconoAir. What a game changer. They knocked the heat out of the park and now I'm comfortable year round. Give EconoAir a call today at 714-333-0130. That's 714-333-0130. Sandlot listeners mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair with EconoAir.
South Bay Credit Union features 3 centrally located branches in the South Bay, 24/7 time-saving digital banking tools, over 30,000 free ATMs nationwide, and a 100% commitment to the South Bay. South Bay Credit Union cares about their community. They've contributed over 3,600 employee volunteer hours. Over 20 local organizations have received donations or sponsorships, and they have raised over $150,000 for the Children's Miracle Network. South Bay Credit Union. Live better, do better, bank better.
Looking for printed apparel for your school, business, sports team, or company event? Max Graphics LA is your solution. Go to maxgraphicsla.com today and check out our options. We offer screen printing, embroidery, and more on clothes from major suppliers. Our graphic designers can help you with your logo or design. We also offer custom online retail shops where we take care of all orders and fulfillment. Visit our website at maxgraphicsla.com or call 310-595-1195 today to get started.
Hey everybody, this is Trevor Hoffman, a Hall of Famer and a San Diego Padre, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome back to The Sandlot right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM, KAVL, the Antelope Valley Sports Talk Station. I'm your host, Tad Powers. Now we have more from a former major leaguer. He played an all-star game at Fenway Park in '99 when they featured the all-century team alongside our guest last week, Trevor Hoffman, John Jaha. So 1996 is when you really turned it on for the Brewers. You hit 300, which is almost unheard of today. The top 10 hitters in all of MLB go down to like 282. And you hit 300 with 34 home runs and 118 RBIs. And you said that was in the era where everybody was hitting 50 and plus. But 34 home runs today, is you think about it, that's a great season.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, I get to the big leagues. I again struggle a little bit just to adjust to big league baseball. And I dealt with the major injuries. My knee kind of came back to bite me, you know, not rehabbing it right. So it gave me problems for the rest of my career and kind of made me, injure other areas too, because I was always favoring that knee. So it was quite an adjustment. And I, didn't do as good as I could have done, if I was healthy in the big leagues. I think I could have put up those type of numbers consistently for a 10-year period. I really do. And mainly because I used the whole field as a hitter. I mean, my power was the right center as a right-handed hitter. And I would hit balls to right field that I remember Frank White, first base coach for the Royals, one of the great players in his day, would always say to me, "You look like a left-handed pole hitter the way you hit those balls to right field." And he just couldn't believe I got that carry on those balls. And, that's not normal. I mean, I don't think too many right-handed hitters did that, and even in my day, but that made me a pretty good big league hitter. And like I said, unfortunately, I didn't stay healthy, or I could have done a lot better. But that 96 season, that kind of broke me out. And then 99 was the All-Star season. And But looking back, I wish I would have taken care of that knee and known the stuff that we know now. And I would have probably been a lot healthier in my big league career.
99, the All-Star game. We just had an All-Star game, and it was a little strange for me, the new format that they have. But 99, you get to go to the All-Star game. Let's talk about what that was like for you, your family, knowing that you're going to the game, and then some of the future Hall of Famers that were in that game with you.
Oh, man, what an experience. Something I'll never forget. I think I was announced for the All-Star game kind of late in the right before our last few games of the season there on the halfway point. And so I jumped on a plane, and my mom and dad came, my wife came, and headed to Fenway Park. And I was a little nervous, I got to say, because going to Fenway and then the players that were there, from Derek Jeter to A-Rod to Mark McGwire to Sammy Sosa, I go on and on. There was Pedro's pitching that game. It was just absolutely amazing. And I got to be honest, I didn't know if I belonged there at the time, but I sure enjoyed it and kind of let it sink in and had a great time. And I was also, I don't know if you remember that year, but it was when they brought out, I think, the 50 greatest players, and they brought them out before the game. So all the greats of Ted Williams came out, and it was just amazing. And something I'll never forget. And I also was in the home run derby. I didn't do very good, but I was still in it, and I will never forget that either.
How many home runs did you hit? And it was a completely different format back then because they went all over Jazz Chisholm for only hitting 3. And I just remember through the years that there'd be guys that would only hit a couple, and it's just because they just didn't get the rhythm going. Yeah,
totally different back then. I mean, it was, first of all, talking about pressure then. I came in late in the home run derby because Manny Ramirez dropped out. So they asked me, basically a day before it, do you want to do the derby? And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I'm not a home run derby type guy anyway. I was kind of more of a right center line drive hitter, gap to gap. So trying to hit home runs was never easy for me. So I did it, and I'm glad I did it, but I only hit one home run. But I will say it was totally different. You would just go 10 outs. So you basically got 10 pitches, and obviously if you hit home runs, you just keep going. But I got no rhythm, and I got one over the big monster, and I think Sammy Sosa only got one too. So I can claim that I tied him for last place.
Well, just being in the game and being in the home run derby and having it at Fenway. Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, just like I said, something I'll never forget. It was one of the coolest things in my whole career was doing that and sitting on the bench. I mean, I didn't start or anything. I had a little bit of a slight hamstring pull, so I was going to just pinch hit that game no matter what. And just sitting there talking to Carlton Fisk and Joe Torre and some of the old guys were on the bench coaching and just talking about, listening to their stories was unbelievable. And then just getting to talk to guys like Derek Jeter and A-Rod and some of those guys. What an experience. I'll never forget.
That particular year, you had signed a minor league contract with Oakland. Not even sure if you're going to make a big league team. And you end up going off in 99 with 35 homers, 111 RBIs. And that today still ties a record with Dave Kingman for the most home runs by a DH from the Oakland Athletics. So you're still up there and on the wall of fame with the Brewers. So you've had an unbelievable career, dude. And I was fortunate enough to have a chance to face you a few times in the minors and over there in the Australian Baseball League. And back then I could tell, I said, this is a guy that will be a major leaguer. And you went on to have a great career, man. Unbelievable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's it was quite a career for me. From a guy that from Portland, Oregon, playing, like you said, in the sandlots in the backyard. Never really, always had that dream, but always had the reality of thinking, how am I going to make it? It's the small town I was in, and not much baseball up here in the rain. So to be able to play parts of 10 years in the big leagues is something I could never dreamed of.
Now you got a son that's in college, and college game is different now, and all this portal stuff and teams really not with loyalty to players and vice versa. It's not like back in the day. And so I know what your kids go on. Both my kids went through the JUCO programs and then went to D2 schools. So I've gone through what you're going through, and it's harder to navigate today than maybe ever. Yeah,
I totally agree. I mean, my son went to Oregon, and he was one of two third basemen at the time. And the coach there thought, you're going to have a good chance to get some playing time here as a freshman. So kind of talked him into coming, and he was really, really encouraged by hearing that. And then he gets there, and there's 5 third basemen, and 1 or 2 of them are really, really good that just transferred from a JC and down in Texas. And both are in pro ball now, but But the point is, you just never know nowadays. You get promised something, then you get there and there's 5 or 6 transfers coming in. And like you said, there's just no loyalty, and kids are jumping from team to team like free agents, and it's tough. But he's definitely still grinding. He's kind of like I was. He just can keep grinding. He's looking for a new college and a new start somewhere, and he still wants to continue to play.
He's former major leaguer. He was an all-star, John Jaha. John, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thanks for having me. Had a great time.
We're at the Grit Sports Collective Baseball Camp at Presidio Little League in San Diego. We're with our champion character of the week, Hayden Lilly. Hayden, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Hi.
So, I want to know what you've learned in camp, because you've been here for more than a week. Came for 5 days 1 week, and you've been here for a couple days this week. What have you learned in camp?
How to hit, get the grip on the bat.
Okay. What else?
Stealing.
All right. What about sliding?
And sliding.
What about being a cutoff man and a relay man and the difference between the two?
Cutoff man and learn how to be between the two.
Now, if you had a major league player that you could ask a question to, what would that question be, Hayden?
For Max Muncy and Will Smith.
What would you ask him?
For Will Smith, it would be, what's your hidden baseball talent that nobody would know? And for Max Muncy, if you could choose any MLB player in all of baseball, who would that be to be your teammate?
Those are some really good questions, and we'll see if we can get some answers for you.
I'm Hayden James Hill, and I listen to the Sandlot.
My name's Brody Lilly, and I am in the Grit Sports Collective Baseball Camp in beautiful San Diego, and you're listening to the Sandlot.
Thanks for listening to the 14th Sandlot show of the 2020-25 season. You can listen to the Sandlot every Saturday morning right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Also streamed live on 610foxsports.com. You can catch replays of this year's and past season's episodes on the Sandlot Radio Show SoundCloud page. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Sandlot Radio Show for video content with the players. We also have links to our YouTube, Spotify, and SiriusXM MLB network. Please explore the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website to check out our reels and images from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. If you're interested in advertising your business on the Sandlot Radio Show, give us a call at 303-350-0655 or send us a message through the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website. I want to thank all of our guests. On today's show, we had a former major leaguer and scout, Randy Johnson. We also featured former major leaguer and all-star, John Jaha. Be sure to tune in next week as we'll have more great guests all season long. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network and sponsored by Terramar Collective, Econo Air, South Bay Credit Union, Max Graphics LA, and Grit Sports Collective. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
Is this heaven?
It's Iowa. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
Step up to the plate with Econo Air's solar services. Their solar solutions deliver unbeatable energy savings, keeping your power bills low all season long. Be a game changer. Switch to clean energy today. Sandlot listeners mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair. Call Econoair at 714-333-0130 and hit your energy savings out of the park.
South Bay Credit Union features 3 centrally located branches in the South Bay, 24/7 time-saving digital banking tools, over 30,000 free ATMs nationwide, and a 100% commitment to the South Bay. South Bay Credit Union cares about their community. They've contributed over 3,600 employee volunteer hours. Over 20 local organizations have received donations or sponsorships, and they have raised over $150,000 for the Children's Miracle Network. South Bay Credit Union. Live better, do better, bank better.
Looking for printed apparel for your school, business, sports team, or company event? Max Graphics LA is your solution. Go to maxgraphicsla.com today and check out our options. We offer screen printing, embroidery, and more on clothes from major suppliers. Our graphic designers can help you with your logo or design. We also offer custom online retail shops where we take care of all orders and fulfillment. Visit our website at maxgraphicsla.com or call 310-595-1195 today to get started.